Hey there, Peter Vekselman, Jamari Spruill. How are you, buddy?
I'm well. Great to be here.
Hey, thanks for coming up. Jamari is actually not too far away. What was it, about an hour drive for you?
About an hour drive.
Well, listen, I appreciate you guys joining us. Jamari, what can I say? I could sit here and probably spend the next 10 minutes just talking about my vantage point of why I think you got stuff dialed in. You really, really do. And you know I'm proud of you. I tell you this every time we see you. But let me just kind of start out by saying this. You know, one of the most frequently asked questions I get is, since we're doing deals all over the nation, is they're like, what are the hot markets? People are always asking, Pete, should I be doing stuff in this city, in that city, or where do you do your stuff? And I'll be honest with you, I use you as an example a lot. I use you as an example from a standpoint, and this is what I tell people. I say I do not chase markets. Because let's face it, if there was actually the hottest market out there, we'd all be in there, right? Mm-hmm. But what I tell people, Jamari, is I say I don't chase markets, I chase partners. I chase the right people, and those are the people I want to do deals with. And I use a couple examples, and I'm sure you know who they are, the Seths of the world, and I use you as an example. That to me, it doesn't really matter that you live in Atlanta. I mean, it's cool, we could see each other a little bit more often. Or if you lived in West Coast somewhere. I absolutely feel 100% confident that we would still be doing deals and we would still be putting our energy and effort into someone like you. So, what's your whole opinion of stuff like that? Like when because I do think there are pockets within markets and all this. Talk a little bit about your interpretation of markets. I mean, because Atlanta's a big city. We got 8 million people there. Talk a little bit to people that may want to know, well, how do you choose, okay, fine, we're going to go by into what Pete says, I don't choose markets. But I always tell people within the market, there are certain areas to do things in, certain areas not to do things in. Talk a little bit about that. Kind of where do you tend to do your stuff? How do you flourish?
Well, I learned from you, Pete. You go where you see mixed, you see a little bit of everything. You see a little bit new construction, a little bit old construction. You see different diversity in people. And the way I've done it is I've always spent time in the field. That's the best way I can find out the data. You get real-time data in the field, driving around, just looking at the area, seeing where the builds are happening, seeing where people are fixing up houses. And when I see that, that's when I know I need to set up shop there.
It's interesting, and even as you answer this question, you go in the field and all. You're known as our Mr. Out in the field, door knocker extraordinaire. We've done over 15 deals. We got another one we're in the middle right now. The construction will be done here this week, you're saying, which is fantastic. We'll talk a little bit about that deal. But talk a little bit of how did you end up in the door knocking world? And and I know you're going to talk a little bit about didn't cost money, and your situation was you couldn't spend money when you got started, but there's other things you could do that don't cost money. It's not the only. I mean, you could sit on the phone for 6 hours a day. What led you into choosing out of the free marketing that could be done out there? Why door knocking?
When it comes to hard to find properties and people who are hard to get in touch with, you coined the term unfindables. Mm-hmm. Those are the ones that are hard to get in touch with. I found knocking on doors is the best way to crack that code. The deal that I closed last year, it was a vacant absentee owner. Everybody is on the same list. It was on everybody's same vacant non-owner occupied list, but I was able to get them. And not only that, the house was literally 5 minutes away from the vacant house. How did I get it? Door knocking. The property that I have now that we're currently renovating, how did I find it? Door knocking. It was a pre-foreclosure, and he said people are calling me left and right. I was the only one to get them. How was that possible? Door knocking. So door knocking has been a way to crack the code of accessibility and make people me able to get in touch with people, track people down, and get to them in a way that I couldn't have before.
Well, okay, take it a step further. You're saying everyone's got their number. Mm-hmm. The guy even tells you, Jamari, everyone's calling me. Mm-hmm. So are you saying just the act of being there live in person is what pushes these people over? Is that the final play here?
It's a game changer, brother. I mean, just being in front of them and being able to talk to them in person has been a game changer. I've been able to get in front of people that nobody else could.
All right, so talk to the person that kind of, to me, this makes all the sense. As you know, in my history, that's where I started when I got in this business. Probably the first, 50 to 60 deals easily I did, if not more, all came as a result of being out in the field, I call it. Door knocking, getting to know people and all this. Now, my philosophy when I was door knocking was very simple. And I'm not sure if you're going to agree with what I'm about to tell you, but my philosophy was this. I picked out about 3 or 4 spots, not big spots even, maybe 2-3 mile areas, and that's all I did. I mean, I literally spent like 2 years in those 3 to 4 areas, couple miles wide. And my philosophy back then was very simple. I just want everyone to know me there. You don't subscribe necessarily to that philosophy, right? You're more spread out. Or
I'm more spread out, but when it comes to pre-foreclosures, I target them in my local county, Clayton County, and I hit those pretty much like you were hitting in your market.
Okay, but so let's say you got a list of pre-foreclosures, right? So someone's listening to this and they're like, okay, I got it. Are you saying you're literally getting lists and driving? So if let's say you got 24 pre-foreclosures you want to hit today, and let's say they're 50 miles apart. Are you going to drive strategically to every single one of those? Is that how you're doing this?
Well, I don't go as far as 50 miles, but I
Okay.
stay within my local county. So I look at everything in my county, and I pull the list, and I hit everything in the county as much as I can.
And so you're physically driving each one?
Physically driving to each one.
Wow. So, okay, so let's say I'm on pre-foreclosure, you knock on my door, whatever, whether we had a conversation or we didn't have a conversation, what do you do next?
Okay. They open the door. I say, hey, I was in the area just coming from an appointment. I just want to stop by and make sure that I understand the property was up for auction. So I just want to stop by, make sure you're taken care of, and you're not in foreclosure anymore.
Okay. So, but talk a little bit what happens past that conversation. Okay, well, actually, let's bring it back to the conversation. So now I'm saying, well, how'd you get my information?
Well, it's public record. I don't know if you understand the foreclosure process, but once the bank sends what's known as a notice of default to the county, they record it in their public database, and it becomes public record. So if you've been getting a bunch of calls and texts, that's why.
All right, so let's use a number, because one of the things I talk about in this business is there's shortcuts. I don't care what you do. There's a long way of doing it and a short way of doing it. And going after pre-foreclosures the same way. There's a long way of going after pre-foreclosures, but there's ways of shortcutting it. Give me some averages. You talk to 20 people. How many, at least, not that we're gonna do a deal with them, but how many of them are receptive? Average.
If I talk to 20 people, maybe half of them will be like, I got it taken care of. And out of those, maybe a good 5 of them, I can say a good 5 of them will be good leads that I can go on and move forward and do something with.
Well, that's huge. I know if I got a hold of 20 people, I don't care what state they're in or what condition they're in. Whether they've all been through divorce, whether they all had COVID, whether they all had a probate situation. I cannot say that 5 of those I'm moving forward with. That is the power of like face to face, huh?
Yeah. People don't understand the power of door knocking. I mean, you can get in front of people that you never could otherwise.
All right, so let's say out of those 5, on an average, how many do you think that we end up doing something with?
At least one. At least one will become a deal.
So you're telling me that if someone commits to door knocking, now obviously you've done it for a couple of years, you got this, you got the gift of gab, you kind of understand the different nuances. But are you telling me that it's possible to get 1 out of 20 when you're door knocking, specifically, not just randomly, but specific like to pre-foreclosures or what?
I can vouch, from my experience, 1 out of 20 is very, very doable.
So the deal, so we've done about 15 plus deals right around there. Out of those, how many were door knocking?
So far, 2. 2 out of those 15 came from door knocking.
And where did others come from?
Driving for dollars and cold calling.
Okay, so you are still cold calling.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, so you are still cold calling, but gosh, that's a pretty big number. So if you're committing to door knocking, you can get 20% of your deals from that strategy.
Absolutely.
Because, one of the things I hear all the time when I talk about, because, a lot of times I'll talk to people about door knocking, one of the biggest things I hear about is people tell me it doesn't work anymore. And here's why they tell me that. It's not like they tell me it doesn't work because the strategy doesn't work. They tell me in today's market, no one's going to open the door to you, no one's receptive, all these neighborhoods have no, solicit and all that kind of stuff. Are you worried about all that stuff?
I'm not. I'm here to tell you, I'll put this on record. It works now more than ever.
Well, now there's more motivation.
Right.
So let me ask you this. So obviously we know the situation we're in, financial situation, the inflation up through the roof. interest rates going up, nobody knows where to stop. Then is it safe to say, since you're looking for these super motivated people, I don't know how much more motivated you can get than if you're being in a pre-foreclosure, is it safe to say that with the economy going sideways on a lot of people, there's going to be more opportunities?
Absolutely. There's been at least an uptick of what they say 800% now in foreclosures since the beginning of the year. It's only going to get more and more.
So one thing I want to talk to you about, and this is one thing that I just, I don't know if you consider me a coach or a mentor. I think we
Both.
have that kind of, and I appreciate that. Why didn't you ever bring anyone on board to help you? I mean, to me, I'll tell you that, for me, that's when my business took off. Back then, I brought a partner on board, and ultimately what happened, my partnership back then, Jeff, who's the guy I brought on board, he actually took over all the cold calling and all the door knocking. And I kind of became the office guy and a little bit more of a visionary and guided our business for about 10 years and all this stuff. I never hear you talk, I never see you bring anyone else. Is there a reason for that?
Well,
did you try?
I haven't tried yet, and that's why I have you as a coach and a mentor and a friend, because you bring up these things, then you see it from a different perspective. You know what I mean? So,
well, it's a mandate.
Yeah.
No, seriously, dude. I think for you to get to those next levels, because look, here's the thing. First, you validate. You've obviously validated. Nobody could sit here and tell you, oh, you can't do cold calling, you can't do door knocking, you'll got to pay, $100 grand a month and get. Those are good leads to get. If you got $100 grand a month, sure, spend it in marketing and dump in, incoming leads. But you have validated beyond any shadow of a doubt that cold calling, however you do it, works. You got to bring someone on board. I mean, that is my mandate to you. One of the things I love about Jamari, right now we're doing, what's the name of the street? Greendale?
Greendale.
We got a deal on Greendale. We bought it for how much?
$165.
$165. How much did we spend? 50, 40, something like that? 30?
30, 33.
30. So we spent somewhere in the 30s. So we're into it, let's say, for a little bit over 200. And I think it's going to be take out at what about?
250.
About 250. So we love those kind of deals. Going to be good profit split. But one thing I love about you is we've asked you in our office, can you document that? And we were just talking when we got here that Jamari's like, I kind of think, oh yeah, my social media goes well. This guy is rocking it out. By the way, if you're not following Jamari, you got to follow Jamari. Reality, and I know it's hard to say this right now, what if you would have gone another year? You think you would have made it?
That's a good question, Pete. The way I wanted it so bad, I didn't care how long it took me. If it took another year, I probably would have held on. It would have been tough. I would have had to do a lot more Uber Eats deliveries, but I would have held on. I was just that determined to make it because I knew this was it. When I saw y'all's opportunity, I was like, this is it. No matter how long it's going to take, I'm going to stick with it.
To the guy watching this, and he's out. He's quit. Like literally, he has quit. He sees no light at the end of the tunnel. What do you say to someone like that?
To the person out there that's watching this, if you're about to give up, just hang in there. That's all. I know it sounds easier than easier said than done, but just hang in there, because the only reason why I got to where I am now is because I never gave up. There's no secret sauce. There's no any of that. It's just about doing the thing consistently and not giving up. So if you stick with it long enough, you'll get there. You just gotta hang in there and do whatever it takes.
So listen, Jamari, you're an inspiration. You really are, and not just inspiration to the people in partner-driven organization, but you're an inspiration to me. There's times I kind of, started, thinking about different things about this business and trying to evaluate this business and try to figure out how to get me to the next level. I can tell you many, many times you're part of that. So keep on being you, keep on doing what you're doing, and keep on documenting. There's a lot of people that 100% get inspired by you.
Thank you, brother.
Yeah, keep it going, brother.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.